Right, now that we got all the melon and the pumpkin stems here, all we gotta do now is just wait. And as per usual, there's 4 different chambers in which the pumpkins and the melons can grow in, because symmetry. And now that being done, it's time to go tackle the next game tick based farm, something that I've been kind of dreading, but we're gonna have to do it. And that is, of course, the kelp farm. What up, my roomies, and welcome back to the technical guide to Minecraft. And today we're gonna be making a kelp farm in the Nether. I know, crazy, but thanks to the Nether water we got, wow, like almost 20 some episodes ago, we can now make a kelp farm in the Nether. You might be wondering, why are we making a kelp farm? As with all the other random game tick farms, this one is just another crop that can be done in such a manner. So we're gonna go make ourselves a kelp farm in the Nether. That, and we're also gonna have to tackle the issue of moving the water, because I don't want to move a lot of water for this one project. So instead, we're gonna make the kelp farm using only one source of water block, using a couple of game techniques that you can use in your world. And so, welcome to KiguCorp, where safety is a concern. So in the past couple episodes, especially when it comes to the storage system, you'll notice that we use a lot of waterlogged mangrove roots. And the reason being, it's quite simple. It's because when a waterlogged mangrove root gets pushed by a tick from an observer, it would change its waterlogged status. And it doesn't matter which direction it goes, it'll get pushed. But we could take this to another level, because not only does a waterlogged mangrove root go left and right, it can go up and down. Not only that, but it can also be moved using a flying machine. So if you were to activate this flying machine, you'll see that it'll get pushed forward and then ultimately land in a spot. Now, obsidian is not necessary in order to stop blocks from moving. You can use blast furnaces, regular furnaces, or any non-movable object in order for it to stop a flying machine. But by using this, we can get the waterlogged mangrove roots into position, because we really do not want to deal with having to move each waterlogged mangrove roots into position one by one. We want to maximize the use of a single mangrove root. But how? To explain it briefly, if you were to take away this water, you'll notice that the water down here disappears. But if you were to put down water again and then put a kelp right on this bottom block, if you were to then destroy it and then destroy the water again, you'll see that the water still stays in here, meaning that with a single waterlogged mangrove root, we can create an apparatus for which the kelp can grow. And this is important because when this water block becomes a water source block, items in it tend to go up. So you see this kelp go down, but then it'll slowly move to the top. And this mechanic is going to be important for us, because once it goes to the top, it'll stay up to the top. That's why when you destroy kelp in the overworld, it'll rise to the top for you to collect instead of just hanging out in the bottom of the ocean. Now, of course, when you first harvest a kelp or any other items under the ocean, it might first go down, but eventually, assuming of course that the ocean is full of water source blocks, which tends to be the case, it'll eventually rise to the top. And we could use this mechanic in order to automate this entire thing. An example of this is this rudimentary kelp farm that we've created. And it's pretty basic in how it's built. You have a piston on the bottom with an observer facing in front of it. How this works is that the kelp will then grow. The observer will notice a block change because a kelp grew into it. Thus, it'll activate this redstone, which will then power this piston and activate it forward. And as you saw, this kelp first went down, but because this entire area is covered with water source blocks, it'll eventually get pushed to this iron bar. Now, as hinted before, this entire area beneath the topmost layer is water source blocks. The topmost layer only has one water source block, and that's this staircase over here. The waterlogged staircase acts as a pusher to push materials over to this iron bar. This iron bar is thin enough so that when an item does eventually go through and get pushed by the water, the item can just go through and then fall down, and in this case it'll fall into the void. And you might be wondering, why are there staircases? Well, the reason why there are waterlogged staircases is because when these pistons go forward, it'll delete the water source block in front of it, and so we have to create a new one. And by creating an infinite water source using these waterlogged staircases, the pistons will first activate, eliminate the water source block, and then this waterlogged staircases will then recreate the water source block for the kelp to then get pushed up again. It's all pretty simple. The hardest thing that I'm going to have to face is getting the water into position in the first place, because we're going to try to create all the water for a single part of a module with a single water source block, which is going to be a little tricky, but not impossible, thanks to the kelp's mechanic of creating water source blocks wherever it grows. And by doing so, we'll be able to create a kelp farm in the Nether. For those that want to play around with this, there's going to be a schematic and a world download in the description below. And with that in mind, let's head back to the technical guide world and get to it. Quick interruption. I noticed that only 12% of you are actually subscribed to this channel. Watching this long, I must be doing something right, so if you like this video, hit that like button and please subscribe to this channel. Any support helps, and these videos take a bit long to make. Thank you so much, and back to the video. Okay, so first things first, we need to go find ourselves some kelp, because I'm surrounded by a warm ocean biome, and I don't believe kelp is natural over here. So we're gonna have to go do that real quick. There it is. I was wondering where the kelp was. Let's get ourselves, let's say, 2 stacks of these, just so we can get started with this farm. Okay, now that we got 2 stacks, let's head back to Ambrosia and start building this kelp farm. Oh man, I really need to make a transportation system. I know I've said that for like past couple episodes, but this is getting ridiculous. I love how this turned out, and as per usual, there's 4 chambers in each of the corners, and if you just look up here, it'll slowly glide over to the hopper/barrel. Now, as far as the utility and the reasons why to have kelp, there's really not much of any. I mean, you can make dried kelp, which you can make into dried kelp blocks, which you can use as fuel, but I don't really need fuel since I already have a bunch of coal thanks to the... Oh god! Oh jeez! Man, this person's big mad. 1 second, let me take care of this. But since we already have a wither skull farm, which also acts as a bone and a coal farm, we don't need to make a dried kelp block farm because, well, we already have fuel. Oh man, there's another one down below me. As I was saying, the main reasons why we want to make a kelp farm is simply because you could use kelp for making water source blocks. And when you're in a very water depleted area like the Nether, kelp can be used to generate more water when you need it. You can make water source blocks out of kelp, but beyond that, there's really not many uses for it other than making dried kelp, which you need for achievements or a dried kelp block for fuel. Now that we got that out of the way and that we have it in our disposal, now it's time to do a different kind of farm. In this case, we're going to be using foxes in order to make a sweet berry farm.